My friends, I have some good news for you. Since I asked you to check if you're still subscribed, this channel has gotten back almost 2,000 subscribers in a little over a week. YouTube unsubscribed many of you without your knowledge, and I want to thank each and every one of you who resubscribed. Thanks so much for supporting this channel. Thanks to everyone who left super thanks. I respond to every one I receive. And if you enjoy this video, then please subscribe or even become a channel member, because I can't save pop culture on my own. I need your help. Thank you for watching, and now, on with the video. And now we come to the third Ncuti Gatwa episode of Dr. Not, called Boom. Is it better? It's significantly better than the first two on the surface, until you think about it. Think about what it's saying and what it does. And when you do that, you'll likely hate it as much as I do. But to truly understand what made me so disgusted with this episode, you'll have to watch this review to the very end, because only at the end of this episode do we truly see how ugly and stupid it was. Boom, by Steven Moffat, begins on an alien battlefield in semi-darkness, smoke, and flames. Two soldiers are slowly making their way through a minefield, but what they're really concerned about is their own automated ambulance, which apparently is malfunctioning in some way because the people in charge are either too cheap to upgrade the software, or there's something else going on. You can guess which choice that is. It seems the ambulance will perform a diagnosis on any wounded soldier, and more likely than not determine the soldier is beyond saving and terminate him. Sadly for this pair, one of them is wounded with temporary blindness. The ambulance starts coming for them. The soldier with unimpaired vision that was leading them through the minefield stumbles, steps on a mine, and gets disintegrated. The ambulance robot shows up and sure enough, diagnoses the temporary blindness as something that will take 4 weeks to heal. The ambulance considers that unacceptable, says combat medical failed. The soldier protests he has a wife and daughter. The ambulance, which has the face of a kindly old lady on the screen, prepares a thoughts and prayers message to send to the next of kin. Says the corporation expresses its deepest condolences and electrocutes the soldier, who screams. Dr. Not hears the scream, runs to help, which is nice because it's the first time in this new series that we see him do anything but run away from danger. And oopsie daisy, Dr. Not steps on the mine. Roll credits. So Ruby Sunday goes out looking for the doctor, and surprise, surprise, what does she find him doing? He's singing as he stands on the landmine. Yes, that's right, my friends. Dr. Not can even turn standing on a landmine into a musical. Now, the problem here is, when the first soldier stood on the landmine, it just spun up to red and disintegrated him. But I guess because Dr. Not is the star of the Dr. Not show and he has plot armor, the mine just freezes on green, doesn't close the gap and go to red, and doesn't disintegrate him yet.
Maybe the landmine just wants to be sung to. Maybe it never had a mum to bring it a nice cuppa and some biscuits and sing it a nice lullaby. Or maybe it's just shitty writing, plot armor, and Ncuti Gatwa demanding to sing at every opportunity.
Well, now, Dr. Not says the first touch activated it, and now the sensors are trying to confirm if he's an actual target. So the minute he makes one wrong move, even looking down to see it, boom. So he asks Ruby to take a look at it and describe what she sees. Is there a gap where it's not lighted? Ruby says yes, but why would it light up at all? And Dr. Not says capitalism. Because pretty lights are impressive in a showroom when you're trying to sell weapons. So there's not a lot to this plot, people. Basically, Dr. Not stands on a landmine the whole episode until the end, when, spoiler, he doesn't blow up. Ta-da!
You know who could have gotten out of this bullshit situation with no problem at all? Doctor Who. See, the real Doctor used to have a thing called a sonic screwdriver, and that little gizmo was excellent at opening doors, deactivating locks, disarming bombs, shit like that.
So what you're saying, Harvey, is that this episode would never appear in a real season of Doctor Who because any other doctor would have used his sonic screwdriver to fiddle with the mine. Bob's your uncle. Problem solved?
Exactly.
Shit. Too bad Russell T. Davis took away the Dr. Sonic screwdriver and gave him a weird sex toy thingy instead. A sonic butt plug just ain't gonna cut it, I guess. Too bad the mind didn't have a rectum.
Yeah, if the mind had a rectum, then Bob's your uncle. Problem solved.
Yep, pretty much. So yeah, not a lot going on really in this episode plot-wise, but I'll summarize it for you. Dr. Knott is balancing on one foot, so he needs something heavy so he can shift his weight partly onto his other foot. Ruby finds the compacted body of the dead soldier, conveniently labeled, and hands it to Dr. Knott, who simultaneously puts his other foot down as he adds that extra weight. The green counter senses, hey, some sneaky bullshit is going on here. So the green lights slowly start filling up, and when it hits red, oh boy, kiss your ass goodbye, or, as the song says,
F you're who when you step onto a landmine and all your ratings now suck ass. Go and touch some grass.
Or rather, get blasted to tiny bits all over the grass.
It's almost pointless to go over the plot of this episode blow by blow, because the entire concept is predicated on a faulty notion that viewers will be in horrible suspense wondering if the Doctor will get blown up. That's why they think they can get away with a very slight plot. The interest in this story is supposed to lie in the agony of tension, of suspense. Oh no, are we going to lose the Doctor in Ruby Sunday? There are two problems with this approach. One, we know he's got plot armor, and he's several special protected class minorities, so there's no way he's going to die. And two, the simple fact is, we don't like this new Doctor, and we don't give a shit if he blows up. In fact, truth be told, a large portion of Whovians would love for this phony Doctor to get blown up and put himself out of our misery.
It's true, O Skull of Calderon. Ncuti Gatwa squandered all the goodwill of those Whovians who were willing to keep an open mind and give him a chance when he insulted any fan who was skeptical about his casting, calling them gammons and telling them not to watch and to touch grass instead. And evidently, judging by the fact that this is, thus far, the lowest rated series of Doctor Who in history, a lot of fans took him up on his offer. They're not watching. They're touching the grass, asshole. Look at the ratings. I hope you're happy, Ncuti. Now, I suspect a lot of former fans feel exactly as I do, and we're rooting for the Daleks now, rooting for the Cybermen, rooting for the Master, rooting for this landmine, which looks a lot like a Roomba, to be honest. Oh, will no one rid us of this troublesome phony Doctor? You can't have an episode like this work if you don't give a shit about the main characters, or worse, if you hate the main characters. Oops, bit of a miscalculation there, Steven Moffat, but then again, how could you know that Russell T. Davis and Ncuti Gatwa would alienate the audience before the show even started? We have a saying about that, Steven. You do well to learn it. Without respect, we reject.
So I understand this episode takes pot shots at religion and at capitalism. Can you walk us through that stuff at least, given we know the plot already? Dr. Knott steps on a landmine, it doesn't kill him, he gets away. Ta-da!
Yeah, I'll just summarize the rest of it for you, Harvey Cthulhu. So yeah, Dr. Knott basically explains to Ruby that the ambulance is following the company's policy of maximizing profits by eliminating soldiers who are wounded and therefore cost money with their recovery. But the algorithm also keeps troop numbers at optimum levels to prolong combat because war is money and business is booming, pun intended. So while Dr. Knott is questioning the AI-simulated hologram of the dead soldier, his daughter hears the dead soldier's voice and comes asking for her daddy, who has been compacted into a dried flesh tube, a kind of souvenir casket that has, again, this AI hologram that can be projected with a goodbye message. Awkward! Turns out, Daddy got special permission to bring the daughter into the war zone because Mommy got gathered up by God because she was so wonderful he couldn't wait to fetch her to heaven. Anyway, they ask her name, she says Splice, and that activates the dead Daddy hologram to give her the thoughts and prayers message, but she, being a kid, thinks it's her dad. She runs to it. Ruby grabs her, trying to keep her from triggering the landmine.
Hey! Maybe Moffat knew we wouldn't care about Ruby or Dr. Knott getting blown up, So he decided to add a kid to the mix, figuring we wouldn't want to see her get blown up.
Ah, but Steven Moffat didn't reckon on us being SCTV fans, eh, Steven? There's a blessing that SCTV fans say, handed down to us by St. John Candy and St. Joe Flaherty.
May the good Lord take a liking to you and blow you up real soon.
So no, minor kid part isn't enough to make us not want the Lord to take a liking to Dr. Knott. Sorry, Splice, only more fleshed out characters get to be star-kissed. So anyway, a chick named Monday, who is an ordained Anglican Marine, we saw her earlier talking to a guy who has a crush on her, but she ignores him, I don't know, who cares. Anyway, this ordained Anglican Marine strong whammon shows up, targeting the doctor, basically saying, "Right, what's all this then? Why are you holding on to the sacred remains of another ordained Anglican Marine?" So Dr. Knott updates her with all the needed exposition, and she gives exposition as well. The Anglicans are fighting the Castarians, aliens they've never seen. They're invisible, they're in the mud, you know. We've never seen them, but we're fighting them.
And at this point, I'm immediately suspicious. Wouldn't it be funny if there were no enemies at all? Just the corporation selling weapons to the gullible ordained Anglican Marines, setting them loose on the planet, killing their own people with landmines and ambulances alike, just to keep selling arms for a war where there's only one side. And that side is dumb as shit that's been whacked in the head with a club.
That's an interesting idea, Harvey. I guess we'll see if it plays out by the end of the episode. But at this point, I had exactly the same thought. So this amazing, stunning, brave Marine whammon wants Dr. Knott to drop the sacred remains, explaining he's dead anyway. The landmine basically uses your own DNA to turn your body into a bomb, and it's on a timer, and if enough time passes, it doesn't deactivate. It just fail-safes and blows you up anyway, which makes zero fucking sense. And the whole stupid fucking episode collapses in this scene. The whole point of this idiot fiasco is the mine is trying to decide whether or not a viable target has stepped on it. Now this only makes sense if it will deactivate after a time, deciding not to waste energy on a rock or an animal or whatever because it's maximizing profits, yeah? That's what I assumed was actually going on, but holy fuck, this is stupid. If it's going to do its DNA bomb thing anyway, why the hell is it hesitating? So we can fucking fill 45 minutes of television, that's why.
Bloody hell. This was the best of the 3 episodes thus far, which is damning with faint praise, but yes, still, at least it didn't have space babies or drag queens crawling out of pianos. It had that going for it. But now the entire premise of this episode is moronic, and the concept is faulty because we don't give a shit if they blow up. You can't have tension when you just don't care.
But I do find myself extremely annoyed by this stupid, stunning, brave whammon shooting Dr. Knott repeatedly in the arm, trying to get him to drop the sacred casket, until he points out to her that his DNA would go off like a nuke and destroy half the planet if that damn device goes off, which I wish he would. Meanwhile, hearing fire, here comes the ambulance. Well, God, I hope it fixes her little red wagon, but of course it won't. She's a stunning, brave whammon of color, so she's not as disposable as the 2 white males they trashed at the beginning. You know how it is. And unfortunately for Ruby Sunday, while she isn't a white male, she is a white woman, so yeah, Ruby goes down.
Ah, shit. The only good thing on the show?
Yep. So here's what happens. The ambulance shows up, diagnoses Dr. Knott, then Ruby figures, hey, I'll distract the ambulance with more combat. She runs behind the ambulance and fires off the gun, but it doesn't work. So the Marine says, no, shoot me in the arm, lowest setting, because now she wants to stop the doctor from blowing up, since, you know, it'll take out half the planet and all of them. So the Marine says, shoot me in the arm on the lowest setting, that'll turn the ambulance away. But as Ruby is targeting her, The Space Marine's wannabe Marine boyfriend we saw flirting with her earlier shows up and shoots Ruby several times. And Ruby falls as tragic music plays in slow motion. Then the ambulance turns to her, LOL. Then the ambulance turns to her. So, the ambulance, attaches to her, scans her, knows who she is, surprisingly, that she's 3,000 years old, asks next of kin, and starts shorting out as it starts snowing.
What is it with this chicken snow? It snowed repeatedly on her, dude. What is she, Scarface?
Well, it's not that kind of snow, Harvey. I think the reason it's snowing, and keeps snowing whenever shit happens, I don't know. It was snowing when she was abandoned at Christmas Eve. So naturally, meteorological events just kind of happen around her at odd times, as they are wont to do with us all.
Maybe this entire season of Dr. Not is just in her head.
One can only hope, Skull of Calderon. Well, gang, the snow freezes in the air like it's literally suspended, like time is frozen, at least snow-wise, and it's because Ruby's vital signs are falling. So she's dying, only one square left on the landmine before it goes boom and takes out half the planet. The Anglican Marie Stunning Brave Woman says, oops, what can we do? And Dr. Knott says, surrender. It's your landmine.
Ha! I called it. I guessed. There is no enemy. Just war profiteers having these morons tromp around on an empty planet, fighting non-existent invisible mud monsters. Boring and predictable as fuck, dude.
Well, we both guessed it, Harvey. And then, having attacked capitalism, the doctor goes off on religion. He says the Anglican Marines are so gullible because they operate on faith. These Anglican Marines have been told there's invisible monsters that don't exist, and they just believe it because they believe in an invisible God that also doesn't exist. Well, Dr. Knott doesn't come right out and say it, but listen to everything he says at the end. That's what he's really saying, in my opinion. Otherwise, well, really, what else could he be saying? I suppose it could be interpreted differently. I guess if you see it, you can judge for yourself. So the company algorithm kills Monday's pal when he's trying to hack into the ambulance and save them all. Meanwhile, the other dead soldier AI is trying to infiltrate the command center to get proof the war is phony. Meanwhile, a ton of ambulances come to kill them all. That's right, they're coming to kill Ken. And the ambulances do, and they all die. Ta-da! I'm just shitting you. That's wishful thinking, I'm afraid, my friends. No, the daddy AI pulls it off. He takes over the system and shuts it down to save his daughter. The ambulance actually saves Ruby this time, and the landmine is somehow infiltrated too and deactivated. The whole network taken out by an AI simulacrum of the little girl's dad. And so, Dr. Knott dances around and shimmies and poses. Fuck me. And while Dr. Knott is dancing around all delighted, saying this girl's dad kicked the algorithm's ass, she's just smiling up a storm, and she even dances with him, forgetting all about her dad being a tube of dried flesh on the ground. There's something truly ugly about this, truly narcissistic, truly inappropriate, where the little girl is beaming at the doctor as her daddy lies dead on the ground. Oh yeah, and Dr. Knott fist bumps the little girl. Booyah! Makes a speech into a broken piece of equipment like it's a mic, and then does a big dramatic mic drop. How perfectly damn delightful it all is, to be sure, to have a dead daddy. Fuck this creepy piece of shit show. Now, later on, Dr. Knott pays lip service to the girl. Sorry about your dad, after he struts around and he's dropped his mic and he's danced and he's proclaimed himself the best thing since sliced bread. It's just disgusting. Too late after that disgraceful display. Too late for a square-up Moffat. He even says some things about faith at the end as well. Shit, I don't know what's worse, frankly. Dr. Knott's narcissistic celebration with dancing and mic drop, or the little girl dancing with him and beaming with her dead dad on the ground. I repeat, fuck this creepy piece of shit show. They try, at the very end, to salvage it a little bit. They explain that the little girl hasn't shed a single tear for her daddy because she has such faith that he's in heaven now. but that just seems so cold. What they're trying to do is they wanted to have Doctor Who dance around and shimmy and spin and do his big mic drop bullshit. And they didn't want to inconvenience the scene with, dealing with the fact that here's a little orphan girl and her daddy is dead. But hey, I'm disgusted. It was too little too late. A lousy square up, folks. I was deeply offended by the pot shots at religion, and most importantly, at the callousness with which they treated this poor little orphan girl. So, let's recap, folks. Doctor Who is now a show filled with gayness, attacking capitalism and religion, and in this episode, every single white male in the cast is dead, and a strong woman of color is going to look after the little girl and raise her to be just like her. Looks like Disney has finally found their perfect show. It's too bad for them. No one is fucking watching this shit. From the center of the earth, this is Dictor Van Doomcock bidding you all, my friends, stay angry.